You can live in Japan without speaking Japanese. It's easy. I've done it for years. But here are some reasons to learn Japanese for living in Japan. For work. Maybe a job wants it. Okay. But for everything else, learning Japanese will only save you a little bit of time. But only at places you never go to. Banks, immigration, housing companies, hospitals, city offices. But all these places have English speakers, or they'll bust out a translation device. Done. Fixed. Most forms are bilingual. If they are not, they will help you. Everyone in Japan makes it very easy for you to stay in Japan. It's wonderful. All materials for the Japanese driver's license are also offered in English. They're bilingual. It's very easy. But you almost never go to these places. Most things you do in Japan are repeated and easy. For years, I paid rent at an ATM machine, just repeating the same steps. You don't need any Japanese to live in Japan. Doitashimashite. Oops, you're welcome. I just saved you years of studying Japanese. Where else will Japanese help you? Transportation and tourist places have English speakers in cities. Rural areas, not so much. Shopping for food and restaurants? You don't need Japanese. Just look at the pictures and point. Pull out your phone. Your phone probably can scan and translate stuff instantly. Most restaurants have tablets with English. They translate everything for you. Do you have a dietary question? Pull out your translation app. Done. If you can tolerate being invisible and ignored in Japan, or being attacked many times on Japanese trains, which has happened to me a lot, you'll have no problem in Japan. You don't need to speak Japanese. So study Japanese at your own risk. It will not make anyone more friendly towards you, at least in the beginning. You will be ignored in Japan by strangers even if your Japanese is perfect. They already do this to each other. When I first came to Japan, I met a foreigner who had lived in Japan 9 years, and they did not bother learning Japanese. At the time, I was surprised when they said they didn't try for 9 years. Then I became that person. I never needed Japanese for work or relationships. These are the reasons I don't speak Japanese. But for the most part, conversations in Japanese are implied auto-responses and auto-assumptions. Communicating in Japanese is linear and basically predictable. So simple phrases go a long ways. They've gotten me by for years. And if you learn Japanese, you will still have to suffer through bad communication. Learning Japanese will not help you communicate with Japanese people better. What do I mean by communication? That's what people choose to say or not say. And it doesn't matter what language you speak. This is a big problem Japanese people have. Sometimes they don't talk. People are evasive. Sometimes they tell you the worst answer first. Like, what? Why didn't you just say this first? Why didn't you just say the best answer first? Bad communication. A lot of issues aren't language problems, but communication problems. My advice is, learn Japanese if you really enjoy and are really interested in learning this language. Don't learn Japanese if you're worried about surviving in Japan. You don't need it. Get by with some phrases and simple sentences and relax. Learning Japanese will help you, but it will not make you happy in Japan. It may help you start relationships, but it won't help you save those relationships. Many foreigners have bad relationships and bad marriages, and they speak great Japanese. Life still happens whether you speak Japanese or not. You can get by on simple courtesies because that's what most Japanese is. Without Japanese, your biggest challenge will be housing. You will need the housing company to find an owner who is willing to accept you with limited Japanese. Some property owners won't bother, but many will. If they say no, just keep looking. But again, how many times are you searching for housing in Japan? Not that much. Most housing contracts will ask for a Japanese guarantor, but they do this for Japanese people too. It's standard. Meanwhile, Japanese are saddled with mandatory English, which now starts at grade 3. They are forced to help Japanese freeloaders like myself. How are us non-Japanese speaking gaijin viewed in Japan? That depends on who you talk to. Many Japanese are envious that English is common in many countries, making life easy for us. Others think we are lazy idiots, living in Japan for many years without learning Japanese. And to them, I say, thanks for studying English all those years. It really helps me relax in Japan. Joking aside, Japanese overlook this for the most part. Basically, most don't care. So if you really want to learn Japanese because you really enjoy studying Japanese, go for it. If not, don't worry about it.